Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Broku no Hero. Today we're going to be talking about Black Clover, and a lot of the complaints with the recent portion of the current elf invasion arc, where a lot of the complaints are that the arc is dragging, the fight is taking way too long, the devil is a meaningless character who is evil just to be evil and has zero motivations, and a lot of that stuff. And I do want to say, no matter what I say, is you can still dislike this arc. You can still not like it at all. You can hate it, you could love it, but if you're going to criticize or give a complaint on something, make sure that what you say is actually accurate. If you give a complaint, make sure that it's actually something that's in the series. Like, for example, saying that the devil has no motivations is blatantly wrong, as in the series he is given motivation. That is a critique. It is an objectively wrong critique. You can still dislike the devil, but if you're going to give a critique, give one that is actually valid. Not saying that he has no motivations when the story has already blatantly given us motivation. You can still dislike it. I'm not saying that you should like it or shouldn't like it, but this is basically for people who have been listening and maybe their minds have been changed because they're not rereading the arc, or they forget parts of the arc and they start agreeing with these people, or people who just haven't even read this arc yet and are just already believing it because they haven't read it themselves. But I'm going to go through and kind of talk about why the pacing is not really slow, it's not really dragging. The devil is not a villain with no motivations, and there's just a lot of other stuff to go through. And also, he's not a meaningless character. He's actually a very, very, very important character. So with that, guys, please leave a like if you enjoy, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe. So the big thing gonna kind of go over is talking about the devil, how long he's been in the series, and with the complaint that this series is dragging ever since he's been introduced. Or I guess not really. This complaint has not really been around since he's been introduced. It's basically been around for the last 5 or 6, maybe 7 chapters where this complaint has really started to come out. And let's just talk about the devil. He was introduced in chapter 196, and now that we're at chapter 211, that means it has been 16 chapters that he has been introduced. And that means he was only around for roughly maybe 13, 12 chapters at the time of his complaints were around. Now, to say that the arc is dragging within 13 to 12 chapters of a character being introduced, don't really know what I think about that. I mean, the Frieza and Goku fight, that was a just straight fight for, I believe, 20 plus chapters, while the devil has been only around for 16 chapters in total, and at the time of the complaints beginning to start, it had only been 12 to 13 chapters. Not only that, but the devil has not even been fighting in all of these chapters. There have been other fights taking place, and there have been multiple fights with the devil where the devil has fought multiple different people. So it brings up the idea of the devil fight being dragging as not a very great complaint. Now, the way the word is being used in a way of a critique, as in dragging, that means that time, events, or activities are passing slowly or tediously. And I just don't get how this is all passing slowly. The only thing that is actually making this pass slowly in any sort of sense is that we have to wait a week for every single chapter. But in a sense, then you could say that literally every single manga is dragging because, well, I guess not every single manga, because some manga are bi-monthly or monthly, but every manga that is a weekly series, they're dragging too, because you have to wait a week for every single chapter. And so I'm going to basically go over chapter by chapter ever since the devil was introduced, and basically talk about what's been happening, because people think that, oh, it's been 16 chapters. Yeah, it's been 16 chapters since he's been introduced, not 16 chapters of him actually fighting. So in chapter 196, the devil was introduced, and we got basically a fight of devil versus Patri and the devil versus Yuno. Then in chapter 197, it was the devil versus Patri a bit again, and then the devil versus Asta and Yuno at the same time. And then in 198, the devil is not even fighting, it is Asta and Yuno versus Dark Elf Patri. In 199, it is Dark Elf Patri versus Asta and Yuno, and then Dark Elf Patri versus Nozel. In chapter 200, there is no fighting whatsoever, as Asta just converts Patri back to a normal elf. In 201, it's the devil versus Yami and Licht and Sharla, and then it's the same thing in 202. And then in 203, it's again the same thing pretty much, but also including Patri, Yuno, and Nozel and Mimosa fighting against the other world magic in a different room. In 204, it's no devil fight, it is a flashback chapter. In 205, it's Lumiere versus Demon Licht. In 206, it's the devil versus Licht, Lumiere, and then Asta in the last panel. 207, it's the devil versus Licht, Lumiere, Patri, Asta, Yuno, and Sekre. 208 is Asta versus the devil. 209 is Asta and Yuno versus the devil. 210 is the devil versus pretty much everyone in certain ways. And it's the same thing with 211. So let's go over that. So that means of the 16 chapters since he's been introduced, there's actually 5 of those chapters where the devil is not even fighting anybody, because there's multiple fights, and then there is also flashbacks. So that's really only 11 chapters of these 16 where the devil is fighting anybody. So how is it a dragging, slow, tedious, long fight when it's only been 11 chapters of him actually fighting? I don't understand the critique here. And remember, when this critique came out of people saying that Black Clover was dragging, there was even less overall. So it would be like a few less. This would be like maybe 8, 9 chapters of the devil actually fighting. So how is that dragging when it's only been 8 or 9 chapters? That is not a lot of chapters at all. Now, I guess you could still dislike this fight. Like I said, you can dislike the fight as much as you want. It just doesn't really make sense that it's dragging when Goku versus Frieza was 20 chapters plus. The devil's been around for only 16 chapters, has provided a bunch of information packed into those 16 chapters. Like, I don't understand how this can be slow and tedious, which is what dragging is, if there is so much information packed into 16 chapters and so many cool fights. Again, you can dislike the fight, you can dislike this part of the arc, but provide a valid critique. Also, I'm going to go into the claim that the devil has no motivations, and well, this is complete bullshit. The devil did all of this just so he could get the 5-leaf Clover Grimoire and get his own body. The devil has to basically take over people's body and when he's in the regular world, but if he does all of this stuff, he can get an actual body that he can control. So that was his motivations. He did all of this so that he could get a 5-leaf Clover Grimoire and have a body in the real world. Now, we don't know much of his motivations beyond this, what he wanted to do with this, and obviously it would be bad things, but still, he has motivations, and he had a huge, massive plan in place to make his motivations and his dreams come to fruition. He needs a 5-leaf Clover Grimoire, he needs a body, and he does not want the humans and the elves to team up because that would make them too powerful. And from chapter 198, page 7, this quote, "Ah, for the sake of this moment, I have deceived, killed, and plundered." Wow, it's almost like he did all of this for a reason, like he had motivations to do all of this. Again, saying that you dislike the devil, that's fine, you can hate the devil as a villain, but saying that he is a bad villain because he has no motivations is objectively wrong, because there's motivations for him in the series that are blatantly stated. So if you're going to give a critique, make it valid. This is why, guys, that not everybody can be a film critic, because people could give out critiques and they're absolute garbage and blatantly wrong. You have to be able to find why you don't like something objectively and subjectively, not just subjectively. Now, there are people that have been saying that the devil is both too predictable as a villain to have came, but also came out of nowhere and is meaningless. Now, you can't have it both ways, which I have actually talked to people who have said that he is both too obvious of a thing to happen and a ass pull out of nowhere for this devil to come out of nowhere. Even though there have been so many clever bits of foreshadowing that you can see why and how this has happened. This was subverted expectations through clever foreshadowing. This was not an ass pull, and this was not predictable. This is like, yeah, people did make theories that the Licht and the elves were not going to be the main villains, and they made it so that one of the theories is that this could be a demon or a devil that did all of this, and that would be the final villain. Again, that is a fan theory prediction where people took through and went through all the clever foreshadowing and made a prediction that it is possible that the elves and Licht are not going to be the main villains. Because most of the fandom thought that Fulgolion with the fire spirit salamander was going to be the one to kill Licht. That's how a lot of people thought it was going to be. Fulgolion with his fire spirit was going to kill Licht and defeat the elves, and that's how it would be wrapped up. But again, they subverted expectations, or I guess Yuki Tabata subverted expectations through clever foreshadowing. Again, I'll go through the decent bits of the foreshadowing for the devil, and that is, why would Lumiere betray the elves and kill his friend Licht and his sister Tetia and his unborn nephew, when all he wanted was peace between the humans and the elves? That was a red flag. This was probably somebody else besides the human and the elves. The third eye used forbidden demon magic that gave them a third eye and were referenced as demons by Noel. There was the ancient demon in the beginning of the story, and then there's also the big red flag that Licht was letting Asta and Yuno get away from him, with Asta in possession of the Demon Destroyer sword that can cancel the reincarnation magic. And not just killing Asta or trying to take his grimoire or swords. And also, there is Veto's forbidden magic using the same alphabet as the one in Asta's grimoire. Again, Asta's grimoire has a devil inside of it, and has devil language. And the forbidden magic uses the same font, the same letters, the same symbols. So you could see that the forbidden magic was in a devil origin. So there was so many bits and pieces that led to this foreshadowing that, it might not be that Licht and the elves are going to be the final bad guys. Again, the overall general accepting, overall fan theory was that Fulgolion was going to kill Licht and defeat the elves through a group effort, but ended up being a devil was behind it all. And so, not only was this not an ass pull, because the devil was cleverly foreshadowed, it also was not too predictable, because you had to go through all this very clever foreshadowing to find that this was a villain. You can't have it both ways. This was a good, well, I guess you could still dislike it, but it was foreshadowed. It was very cleverly foreshadowed that this was going to happen. And so people say that the devil is meaningless, that he's just thrown in there at the end and doesn't have any overarching importance to the plot and the characters. Well, that is just blatantly wrong. This is a quote from Black Clover Euphoria, my boy Jerome on Twitter. He says this: "We literally saw how a 5-leaf clover grimoire was made, how the reincarnation was cast, learned what actually happened 500 years ago. Asta's devil and the word devil resonated with each other. We learned about another dimension, a devil hierarchy, and we learned about dark elves." That's not even everything either, but that's just from one tweet that shows how important the devil was. How is the devil not important to the overall plot, where if it isn't for the devil, there is no 5-leaf clover grimoire for Asta to use that has anti-magic swords? Without the devil, there is likely no Yuno to even exist, because it is likely that the reincarnation magic created vessels of people's bodies to be eventually used for the housing of elven spirits. So, without the devil, there's likely no Yuno to come into existence, and there's likely no 5-leaf clover grimoire for this to happen. Also, with no devil, the humans and the elves are living together in complete peace and harmony, and are probably so far advanced in terms of magic and magic technology, the world's a completely different place. So, yeah, the devil is extremely important, has done so much to affect this overall world, that saying that he's a meaningless character is objectively wrong. You can't say that and be objectively right. And also, this is a kind of final thing to tack on, and that is just because recently it seems that the devil has been defeated, and people are now saying, as I complained, that, of course, Asta kills the devil. Yet, they don't want to also mention, because you can really tell when people are kind of trash-talking Black Clover, and you can tell if they've read it or not, when they're like, look, Asta actually killed the devil like we all predicted. Guys, this is a massive massive team effort, which included the first Wizard King to use his light magic in partnership with Lick's Demon Dweller Sword to protect everybody in Realm from the otherworld magic, which required Patry to use his demon light magic to protect Lumiere and Licht. And then we had Yami using his more powerful new spell. We had Yuno using his new spell that collected the fragments of other people's magic, and that was slicing the devil. Then Asta gets healed by Sekre, and Asta, with his new fresh body, can use more anti-magic to improve his Black Divider, and he slices the devil's heart open. This was the ultimate epitome of teamwork in Black Clover, with so many people helping out. And not only that, but Asta had to fight the devil after the devil had fought Licht and Lumiere, which means he would be fighting with less mana against them. And again, Asta got the final blow after getting healed, and after two of his teammates had utterly just shitted on the devil before him. So, yeah, it doesn't really add up that Asta, I mean, yeah, he got the final blow, and he did break his limits, but he broke his limits because he was healed, and he got the final blow through completely just utter teamwork. So yeah, guys, sure, you can dislike this arc, and that's completely okay with me. I have nothing against you for disliking it, but putting out low-effort posts or comments, low-effort critiques of why it's bad and being objectively wrong, it's just kind of annoying, I would say. So, the pacing, don't know how it's dragging when they've packed in all of this foreshadowing, flashbacks, fights into 16 chapters, and how this is dragging when the devil has been only in a portion of these chapters. Again, I believe it's like he's only been fighting for 11 of these 16 chapters, and at the time of these complaints arising, he'd only been fighting for 8 or 9 of those chapters. So that's a pretty low amount of chapters to say that something is dragging. And again, this is a very fast-paced series. It's still being fast-paced, and don't know how this is all tedious. This is a group effort fighting down a very powerful bad guy who is a devil. And again, the devil was subverting expectations through clever foreshadowing, not a surprise villain, and not a predictable villain either. It's in a happy medium there. Also, he has motivations. He is not just evil for the sake of being evil. He did not do what he did just for the sake of being evil, even though he did enjoy it. And also, he actually gave his motivations. He did this for reasons. And of course, the devil is not meaningless. His impact on the Black Clover universe is immense. Like I said, without the devil, Asta gets no grimoire. Asta is a boy who has to work on just his pure physical strength to try and live in this world. Without the devil, Yuno likely doesn't exist. Without the devil, the humans and the elves are very likely completely teamed up. And in fact, you might have it so that in this universe where the devil is defeated and his plans don't go through, Asta would actually potentially have magic and might have his own grimoire, like a 3-leaf clover grimoire. He could be like an earth mage or something, because in this world, Licht and Lumiere's partnership, using the magic stones and the magic device, they could give Asta mana. Very likely they could. So this is actually just blatantly wrong to say the devil is meaningless when he has a very massive influence on all these characters and all this entire universe of Black Clover. But anyways, that's my video for this. Just me going back at these people giving these complaints. Like I said, you can hate Black Clover, you can dislike this arc, you can love it, but give better critiques than saying that the devil has no motivations, even though he has been blatantly stated to have motivations. But that's it for the video, guys. Please do leave a like if you enjoyed, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...